observe a moment of silence for Nathaniel Cowan, Mr. Eddie's Hetties. He passed this Tuesday morning. Started the Flame Off. He had a lot to do with the Flame Off and pushing me to do this whole thing, so we could have a moment of silence, and then I'd like to say a few words and I'll get off the mic. I met Nat a year ago here in Madison at this show, and from that point we had an understanding with each other that the glass art scene needed a little boost in the right direction. We spent countless hours talking over the phone on things that we could do to help push the envelope on something that we both loved. There was nothing that Nat would not do to help out a friend or artist who needed it. There's a pretty good chance that you are, right now, in arm's reach of someone who Nat helped feed. An example of Nat's kindness would be when I sent out the sponsor package this year and received a phone call hours later saying he was in and that he wanted to pay for all the top sponsor spots. There was no hesitation, and it was not that he wanted to be on top. He just wanted to make it easy for me and help. It was also his way of showing respect to a group of artists that he had endless respect for. To say that we lost a loving, caring person is an understatement. We lost a sleeping giant in this industry. From what I knew of Nat, he could not ask for a better setting to be respected and laid to rest in our hearts. He leaves behind a little boy and a name, Mr. Eddie's, that I will not let any of you forget. Thank you.
I want to welcome you all to Glass Roots. Did everybody have a profitable and successful day today? I'd like to take just a moment and acknowledge Nick and thank him for all the hard work that he and his crew have done. All right, thank you. The theme of this discussion panel is Progress Through Recession. And it's a title which is intended to allow us to talk about pretty much anything we want to. Our format will be very informal. Each of our panelists will make a short opening statement, and then we're going to open the floor to questions. There are mobile wireless mics. Can the people with the mobile wireless mics stand up and let us know where you are? One of them has a contemporary Lamborghini t-shirt on back there, and Jennifer has the other one. So there are mobile wireless mics. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak, and a mic will be brought to you. That way we can all hear your question. You can address your question to a specific panelist or to all of us, and then we'll do our level best to provide you with the best possible response. Our goal here is a conversation that we can all learn from. Please be patient. There will likely be several people at any given time that want the mic, and we'll try to make sure that everybody who wants to speak will have a chance. I'd like to acknowledge that there are likely a few people in the room that might feel that they're more qualified to sit up here on the panel than any of us are. To you, I humbly concede the point. I only ask that instead of dwelling on the makeup of the panel, that we focus on the issues that affect us as an industry. And let's remember that we're all on the same team here. If you have something to say, we want you to say it. It doesn't matter where in this room you're sitting. Finally, I'm going to limit this discussion to the time that's allotted to us, because I know you're all dying to see Slinger's movie, so am I. So without any further ado, I'm going to begin the opening statements. I'm going to let the panel members introduce themselves right before they give their talk. So instead of me introducing them, they can introduce themselves. I'm Robert Mickelson, and I'll go first. Sometime in the not-too-distant future, when we all look back on this time of our lives, the state of the art in 2011, we will very likely see it as a crossroads, as a turning point. We will recognize that the individual decisions that we made in 2011 regarding the direction of our careers were far more significant than we could ever see from our current perspective. I'm referring to the decisions that we all face every single day. What are our work ethics and values? What will we choose to make or not make? How will we choose to market our work? What persons and products will we allow ourselves to be associated with? What compromises are we willing to accept in order to be successful? How can we become better artists, better businessmen, better citizens, and better human beings? The decisions we make have repercussions beyond anything we can imagine in the long haul, so we better make them good ones. It's my hope that this panel discussion will encourage and facilitate a long-term conversation within this community that might shed some light on these issues, help us all to better understand the bigger picture so we can make our decisions in a way that ensures not just a successful day today, but a brighter future tomorrow. Start down at the end there, Bondo?
Sure. I view the glass pipe movement as an important and dynamic part of the evolving glass art world. I have always been positively impressed by the ingenuity and spirit expressed by the movement as a whole, and there are individual artists who stand out as truly talented designers and craftspeople. As the movement has grown and developed, it has come to a point of greater self-awareness and a recognition of the realities that lie ahead. It is no longer a movement in its infancy, but perhaps more like an adolescent, looking to find its way in a larger world. Questions of legitimacy, recognition, and even legality are more pressing now than ever before. Some of these questions can be resolved by pipe makers working together or with people outside their field in practical ways. Other questions are more difficult and can only be answered by each individual. To find satisfaction, respect, and acceptance in the greater art world, pipe makers will have to ask themselves the same kinds of questions that all artists ask, to evaluate their own accomplishments with the same kind of critical eye and sophistication that is required of professionals in any field. This is something that can be learned. One must be willing to earn a position in their field through work and over time, and to educate oneself outside of customary comfort zones. And I think that's what a lot of you guys are doing, and ladies. And I just want to add one thing in terms of things that people can work on together. I've become aware of some safety issues in studios, and I know there's a lot of different topics for us to talk about tonight, but one thing I think would be really valuable is for people to consider coming up with some best practices, guidelines for studio safety. You know, where I saw a studio this summer, which is what makes me mindful of this, where there were some, there were like 5 oxygen doers bungee together with another 5 100-pound propane tanks in a relatively small studio space. And I saw that, I thought, I don't care how good a glassblower that guy is, I don't want him in a shop next to mine. So that's one kind of issue I think that can be addressed, not necessarily solved tonight, but something that people can work together to come up with some recommendations and get on the same page about. Thank you.
I'm Margaret Zinser. I've come mostly from I'm a soft glass bead lady, and I've been kind of at the edges of the pipe making industry only because so many of my friends have been in the trenches of the bead world up until the last few years. And you know, like so many, I'm following the inspiration and the motivation over here. But I suppose my role on this panel is hopefully to be an advocate for helping to take and pave a better path. I'm very much involved in the glass community in Tucson. I run the board of directors at Sonoran Glass Art Academy, and I'm on it as a director at Beads of Courage, and we do arts and medicine programming for kids with serious illness. And I see in the pipe making industry a massive need for an organization that doesn't act as a union but helps to attack some of the better practices that Bamdu mentioned. But as a member of the Society of Glass Bead Makers, I've gained a massive amount of resource. My health insurance comes through ISGB. We have professional development. Imagine how great for the pipe making industry to have conferences where we can talk about better practices, to talk with lawyers and advocates and work toward lobbying and starting to pave a smoother road, dealing with some of the legality issues, some of the legitimacy issues. And you know, we got to start somewhere. And so, you know, imagine, you know, if there are 10,000 pipe makers out there, even 10% of those people paying $100 a year creates a $100,000 budget as a nonprofit that we can work toward making a smoother road for all of us ahead of time. And so that's why I'm here. And yeah. That's it.
Hi, my name is Nick. Been blowing glass for 15 years from Philadelphia. Started blowing glass in high school, making pipes, and it's brought me here. It's saved my life, and I'm just here on this panel because Nick asked me to sit up here and kind of be a representation of pipe makers. Probably don't really deserve to be up here, but just hanging out and trying to be a voice in the wilderness. So yeah, I don't know. Take it from here.
I'm Will. No, seriously though, I've been blowing glass since the late 90s. I started off over at the Snodgrass camp, started slinging cases for them, going up and down the West Coast, earned my way in apprenticeship. My wife and I had the blessings to start Flow Magazine back in early, was it 2002? Yep. Proud to say that we actually paid for the first issue by trading some cases of some highly functional production. That's a real story, and for the first 5 years of the Flow, it continued to get paid for by making pipes, and when it needs a little money, it continues to get paid for by making pipes. You know? So I'm going with Snick and Robert. I don't know if I necessarily deserve to be up here, but I'm glad that Nick asked us. To me, this is real important because, you know, I kind of look at us like the United States and our infrastructure problem that we have with bridges and roads and everything deteriorating, and it's not a strong foundation for us to build from. And what we've got going on right now is beautiful and magical. But how many people here were blowing glass back when Ashcroft dropped his ditty on us? Yeah. Those weren't the most comfortable times. No. And I think it would behoove us to invest in our future, and that's why I'm up here.
My name is Sean, aka Blade. I've been around the scene maybe 10, 12 years. Again, not as long as some of these guys, but long enough to, you know, remember looking at Headies.com, you know, when there were maybe under 100 guys. You know, and right now I look at this room and this show and this industry, and I'm going to say there's probably 10,000 pipe makers out there, you know, and I'm going to say, you know, 5,000 to 8,000 of those are of the caliber of those guys at Headies.com, you know, and the growth we've seen is unbelievable. And I think the momentum that the current lampworking industry is seeing because of the pipe guys is probably the biggest thing. And we can't see it now, but, you know, in 10 years, looking back, this might be the biggest movement in lampworking, and I will put my money on that. You know, so with that, you know, here we are, you know, and being at Glasscraft, you know, when I bring people in, you know, I show them the first 20 North Star colors, and I say, you know, 20 years ago, this was the color palette. Then I show them the wall of 450 colors, and I think we can really attribute that to the functional lampworking scene, for sure. Color is just a part of that. And you talk about torches and tools, guys like Daryl at Blast Shield, like part of this functional thing and making products for the pipe makers that makes our job better and makes our work, you know, much better, more beautiful, more sellable, and puts more money in our pocket. You know, it's a big thing. And as all of these guys have already stated, you know, I think now we're at a point to where, okay, it's big, you know, the technical skills are there, you know, now what's really the next step? And again, as these guys have said, I think this discussion tonight will be touching on the professionalism, the business aspects, marketing, taking pictures of your work, you know, really making this an easier industry for us to work within, but also to present to other people. You know, this movie tonight, it's an amazing piece of work, and it's so professional and so organized. Like, I can't wait to show it to everyone who's not a glassblower and really show them, you know, not only our struggles, but what we're capable of and what we're really doing. So Yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Ray. I'm Paul Troutman. I guess I probably classify as one of the older people around here. When I first started flame working in the mid-70s, things were really different. There were only a handful of artistic flame workers compared to what there are today. It was difficult to find each other, and when we did, we tended to be secretive. There were only a few glass supply houses selling a limited range of tools and materials, and there was no colored borosilicate.
None.
It's probably hard to imagine what it was like to get into this medium back then. Except for some of the Europeans, flameworking was not even accepted as a worthy medium by the larger art glass community. And to be sure, it was a medium in its infancy. But who cared what others thought? I know that I was so excited by flameworking that I was happy to push on into new territory regardless. Most of it's on the stage tonight started during those early times. Yes, things have changed in the last 30 years. Who would have thought things would be where they are today? Today, flameworkers are among the most respected glass artists and have become an extremely prominent part of the larger glass art world. And the artists in this room, in this young and blossoming functional art glass movement, are among those on the cutting edge. Nobody really knows how many of us there really are. From those early glass roots have emerged a thriving, energized, and devoted group of glass artisans in which the creative juices run deep. Now there are hundreds of teachers, classes, gatherings, collaborative projects, shows, and flame-offs, networking and information sharing like never before. It's really come alive. The economic impact of our movement is amazing as well. My first year selling colored boro in the mid-1980s, I grossed about $8,000 that year. Today, the colored boro industry, along with the functional art glass movement and all the suppliers, is contributing tens of millions of dollars to the economy and provides directly and indirectly thousands of jobs right here in America. And these people, you people, are doing this largely because you love it. It's not just a job, it's a way of life. It gives meaning, it gives community. So, I'm very happy to be here at this celebration, this examination of the movement. However, I would like to sound one note of caution that we do not take our current flourishing status for granted. There are forces out there that could slow this movement down. Politics, the environment, the unsteady world economy. Every piece of glass you touch, every tool is dependent upon a complex and intertwined world that plays well together. Every dollar you make comes in the context of a larger political and economic reality. So anything we can do to strengthen our position by pooling resources and band together as a group would be wise at this moment in history. We should make certain that our voices are heard when important decisions are being made. We should protect our rights and ensure our future ability to feed our families and ourselves and our friends. I've witnessed the evolution of this glass movement, and I'm proud to have made my contribution to its success. I look forward to seeing where this will lead in 10 or 20 years down the road. So, keep those creative juices flowing.
We're going to open up the floor to some questions now. Remember to look for our mic runners. So, who wants to go first?
I'd like to say, first of all, that I really do respect all the colored people out there. You know, on some level. Everybody has contributed. You know, yes, it's true. I did. I was the first one, but and it was because I loved color. There was no market for color at the time, and I just had a good time, and was interested in glass, and I have a technical side and an artistic side, and glass is a perfect blending between the two. So I just went down that road, and I wasn't being successful as a flame worker, selling, what I was making, hummingbird feeders and salt, pepper shakers, and that sort of thing. So that's where the money started coming. So that's why I got into that to begin with. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, I've had this discussion with several glass artists, and Margaret's point, and as well as the point several other people made, is the legalities and the gray area that our industry is involved in, and what we can do as a group, or to create a group, to help promote our future, to help us do this for the rest of our lives. I don't know about you guys, I don't deal well with authority. I like being my own boss. I like being creative. I like being able to do this, and I want to be able to do this till I die or till my hands stop working. And facing the things that have happened recently, several shops being raided, things of such sort, brings this issue directly into our front line, and I think it's something we need to talk about as an industry. This question may be more for our audience than our panel, but Margaret's numerical equation of 10,000 of us at $100 a year would be $100,000 to 1,000 of us at $100 a year, $100,000 that we can put towards attorneys and lobbyists. And out of this crowd, who of you would donate or provide that $100 is the question I'm asking. I also ask this question because I feel that all of us, this was also mentioned, all of us that were able to pay $60 to get in here, there's a lot of people in our industry that cannot afford that. There are a lot of people that aren't with us, and what we would be doing would be for the greater cause of everybody. And I'm curious to all of us, everybody that raised their hands, I'm curious to see how many follow through with it. If this does happen, I would like to have everybody spread the word to the people that may not necessarily be able to afford this. It would be the biggest, most beneficial, I feel, step we could take right now in promoting the longevity of what we're doing.
To give you an idea of how powerful, a small amount of money can be, at Sonoran Glass, we're a tiny little arts academy, and we run now on around $400,000 a year. And with that $400,000, we're employing 9 people, 4 of whom are full-time and have health insurance for their families. We're federally funded. We're teaching kids. We're working as an advocate for arts in Southern Arizona, an advocate for arts for glass arts along the country. And so imagine how much momentum we would gain by organizing, and providing an income base that allows us to apply for. How many of you actually have health insurance as pipe makers? And how many of you, if you had easy access to it through a professional organization, would actually end up with health insurance? A lot more than hands went up early. And so, that's what I'd love to push for, and I think that's, what Ben is pushing for also, and I think it's a good thing. It's paving a smoother road for us.
Yeah, okay.
I'd like to talk about this.
Well, I still beat the streets. I still carry cases. I talk to a lot of shop owners, don't I? Gentlemen, come on, Joe, Ernie, Mike. How many people in here are from the retail side of it? How many people in here are shop owners? Okay. First of all, thank y'all for coming out, because without you here, to be honest, these guys, in my mind, and I might be wrong about this, but they're kind of our shield. And you wonder why they mark the shit up 2.5, 3 times. It's because they're going to take the damn hit. We ain't out there standing behind that counter. We're sitting in our comfortable shop making our thing. But the dynamic, I don't want to waltz around this because we waltz around it all night. We're going to legalize, or we're going to decriminalize. When we'll talk about spice. I mean, straight up, spice is not a good thing for our industry. But I would like to follow that up. The reason it's not a good thing, besides the fact that I've smoked it, well, that shit sucks. But really, like, it's the irresponsibility of local convenience store owners that are selling it to 14-year-old kids, not the responsible guys that are hitting those fucking IDs every time and making sure that you're 18 years older if you want to ingest whatever, you know? And these guys make a lot of money off of this, which they in turn, who do y'all spend it with? Us. So, you know, it's a strange dynamic. No, I don't like it, and I'll say it right now, but you know, how many of these shops can stand the hit of losing that 30 to 40% of inflationary income that's been happening over the last 2 or 3 years? You know, we might not like the soft import. We might not like that stuff that comes in that you see at Champs or ASD or at you know, those shows. But the fact is, they get to mark that shit up 4, 5, 6 times. They make real loot off of that. Whereas my normal production piece, 2.5, right? Something like that. I ain't telling you which market it is, but you know. So we have to consider both sides of the story. So no, I don't like spies, and I'm sure these guys probably don't either. But it is a verifiable income to these businesses that help them to keep spending money with us. So you know, how do we approach it? David Daly.
Sorry, Robert. Hi. Bertoni, right? Yeah. We at the, who was at the CK show last? Okay. You know, Jason did a pretty reasonable job of trying to promote this, but before the first 2 days, we had a seminar that was presented by the UCCTO, the United Counterculture Trade Organization. It just goes to show you how fragmented the industry is to see that, like, there was this seminar that happened at this trade show that nobody knows about. There are forces at work already trying to make what you're talking about happen, and you're right. Everybody has to decide, okay, we're going to back. I mean, it doesn't have to be the UCCTO. It's, you know, it could be any organization. But it was a pretty interesting panel discussion that happened here. Granted, it was 12 people both days. The first day was a business panel where there were retailers and distributors, manufacturers that spoke about stuff like how we handle credit from with the retailers and distributors. It was very interesting. You know, almost all industries have these trade organizations, and within these trade organizations, they focus on promoting things like establishing credit and allowing distributors to grow with their retailers, and there's pure flourishment. That's actually it's a big part of my business, Helix Grav Labs. And the second day was a legal seminar, and just like you spoke about, we need to know about these things, and what we really need is we need lawyers that are going to work for basically free, which is well, that's almost harder than putting together the organization. Yeah.
How many of my glass family here would be willing to donate that money to help us do this, to get us out of this gray area legally, artistically, legitimately, however you want to name it?
Well, the UCCTO is just this idea that happened in somebody's living room, and then they made a website. And
why don't you tell us more about that than complaining about the fact that no one showed up?
No.
Being a pipe maker or whatever, we don't really have access to what all the stores are going through in each different state. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I still have people that are afraid to ship stuff to Pennsylvania because of what happened almost 10 years ago. There's a huge disconnect between everyone in the industry. If we had a lawyer, even something like a guidelines of, like, these are the basic principles of what can happen in each state and not, that would be so helpful. But no one has any idea who can ship to who, what they can sell, what they can call it, you know, all these things that there's no basic terminology or regulation or anything just for us that we can all get along and figure something out, you know. So we all need to communicate on some level, and I don't even think there's the internet. Some people aren't on the internet, some people don't go to the shows. So it's, you know, a lot of these people live out in the middle of nowhere and they don't want to talk to anybody. So, which, Grant, you know, I'm right there with you. I wish I could do that. But, you know, it's just kind of like, we're all spread out, but, you know, we all have to figure it out somehow.
If we all could get together, along with that concept of $100 each, I mean $10 each a year, it would make a huge difference if we all did it, you know, and I'm totally willing to go there. And I really think that we need legal support, but I also think that we need to bring those out of the shadows that are unable to be here and be in this community to help understand how to stand up together, how strong we actually are.
For sure.
You know, pursuing legalization and issues like that is really great. But I think you should look at, there's sort of there's a short-term solution and there's a long-term solution. And you might want to look at both. And I just want to point out or remind people that things like the Colorado project, or now there's going to be an Arizona project, where you get involved with a charity, you're promoting an awareness in the public that, hey, these pipe maker guys aren't so bad. You know, it creates an atmosphere of legitimacy. And that creates an atmosphere where it becomes that much easier to address the legal issues. So I think addressing them head on with lawyers and lobbying and such is probably good, but also keep in mind creating a more accepting atmosphere overall in the art community, you know, the general public is really valuable too.
I think that we also have to be proactive and not just reactive. That's where lobbying comes in, for example. We need to find out what's going on and be there and try and affect legislation and that kind of thing as well, and not just have lawyers to defend us if something happens, but you know, really trying to affect policy. So,
I also believe that because people are afraid to show their faces, that a central organization that could do that for them would be very useful. Somebody who could step up to the plate and, you know, find the lawyers and initiate the lawsuits and organize us without necessarily, you know, revealing our identities. Might really be a useful thing.
Kind of like the Tea Party.
Kind of this need for a central group to, I mean, this Florida thing, man, I mean, I talked to a lot of glass blowers. This is the first time I've heard of this, you know, so I think this kind of this central group that's kind of promoting what's happening, but also providing information and resources and all of that, you know, and when we talk about 1,000 glass blowers giving $10 or $100, you know, we're not even thinking about the distributors, Glasscraft, ABR, Mountain Glass, North Star, Troutman. I mean, we would be willing to invest a lot more than $100 in the sustainability and the long-term growth of this community. And, you know, right now, having that organization, because without that organization, you know, we're not going to put any money anywhere, but if we have an organization with a structured outline and a plan, you know, me as a lamp worker, I'll put $100 towards that, but I guarantee you I can talk to Dave or Abe or Paul, and, you know, some much larger money will come towards that. And, you know, right now, you know, manufacturers and distributors are doing well, and we want that to continue for obvious reasons. So I think it keeps coming back to this kind of organization, and I guess, I mean, the question is what is really the next step there, and how do we start to form that, and who are the people that would be on that, and how do we really keep that thing positive rather than forming this organization and getting the negative blowback of, oh, there's this group of guys that, you know, I'm not on that organization or whatever it is, and I think we're a pretty mature group.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
Sean,
Yeah.
Can we have your list? I mean, look,
Which one?
You like
Your mailing list.
you asked
Oh.
like, you asked how you get all these people
Right.
to you know, like, part of the problem with the UCCTO was it was a great panel, but we didn't have any way to reach these people because it was just some people that don't know everybody in this room. Well, it just so happens that you guys know everybody in this room.
And I can speak for myself and Dave and say, you know, if we're presented with the right outline and the right plan, you know, we will give you that list. And I'm pretty sure Paul and Abe and we'll give you those lists, but it needs to be clearly outlined exactly what's going to happen with that list and what the plan is and where the money's going and who's up. You know, it's got to be professional and getting between. We're talking, you know, 10, 15,000 plus people, and I'm not just going to give that away for obvious reasons. But if it's organized, and Dave and I believe in it, absolutely, for the sustainability of this industry, you know, I can say, and I can only speak for our company, but we're here for this industry. You know, we're a company as well. But if you know, if giving that list out is what will take this thing to the next level, for sure. So.
Well, I mean, that list is what's controlling the descent of, I mean, the release of information to people is that list. I mean, the distributors are the ones who have contact to everyone.
Right.
I mean, if there is one general point, it is the distributors that know everyone, because
There's a lot of other ways that people can get the word out as well through the boards and
but there's, I mean, I know so many people who aren't even on the internet.
in boxes.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Facebook is crazy.
So if you want to be interested in following up on this discussion, please sign up on that list, give us your email so that we can disseminate information.
And do it.
Okay.
My name's Erica and I work with Carver V Glass.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, first of all, that's Grateful Jays in Florida, so recognize. I wanted to also mention that as we're talking, I have a nonprofit background. I worked in DC for a nonprofit for National Association for Community Mediation, Conflict Resolution. So the idea of going litigation first kind of makes me go like this, because we need to come with a positive attitude and not a defensive attitude, although I know that we need to protect ourselves and our families and each other at the same time. But one of the things that I heard was, Robert, when you said, as we're organizing, how can we do this without our faces or without our names being known? I think it's time for us to not go there. We need to stand behind our word and not be afraid. And so that's basically what I want to bring forward, is let's not go into this with fear. Let's go into this with a positive knowledge of we are not making bad things. Don't listen to that. We're coming with a really positive message and product and something that can flourish us, our economy, our country, globally. We have people calling us from overseas that are asking for our work. And again, I have no idea how to ship it to them if we're safe, you know, how that works. So I do think organizing is a good idea. I do think we need to go at it in a positive and not fearful way and be ready to stand up with our names. And although we're Carver B, we're Andrew Brown and Erica Hartwig Brown. Those are our real names. Thank you.
You know, that being said, like you guys were saying that 3 or 4 years ago when it wasn't involved, there was a lot less money. But I also feel like if, you know, you're talking about $100,000 or even $1 million, if the dispensaries in Michigan can't make it happen when it's a state law, and they have pretty much unlimited amounts of money, it seems, then I just don't see how, you know, a trade organization with $100,000 or $200,000 would make a difference to the powers that be that would actually be paying attention to this industry, mainly, in my opinion, because of the synthetic drug problem. So that's pretty much.
We have to start somewhere.
I'm starting the Arizona project with a group of friends on this behalf of the efforts to promote awareness that we all are trying to do on behalf of that. So if we can organize anything in great efforts to showcase what we have. There's a lot going on right now, and around us we're maintaining, we're getting together, we're vibing, we can harness it and we can go forward a lot further. So if there's anybody that's willing to step up to the plate, I took my half. I wake up every day now and have responsibility. I did not know it, but the Arizona Project is a serious amount of effort that Sean is helping me, you know, a lot, and everybody. And the first people I go to are the industry leaders, you know, the organizers, the people that are producing the colors, because they're the people that I can trust first and foremost, and then I trickle down to the glass artists, and then that's the conscious effort that we can all put together. So, whatever we can do, really. Yeah.
I just want to throw a couple of things out there. I'm talking about fear. Putting on a show in the Midwest. Like, Disney Hotel's top shop across the street from the Hilton. I mean, you know, I talk about paranoia, you know. It all falls on me, you know. Whatever show's doing it, if they come in, I mean, I consulted a lawyer about it. He pretty much said they could come in and freeze all my assets, take everything from me.
Yeah, who was it? They said they would go to jail for blowing glass?
What's that?
I would. I'd go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, look at,
I have been to jail.
I talked to this, I have too, actually. But not enough for blowing, but for sound pipes, yeah. So I know what you guys are saying about fear, but like you just, I go through it. And I'm gonna throw one thing out there. What if it wasn't $100 bill, but what if it was $100 in production out of your gun case? Or your, you know what I'm saying? What if you had the option to throw $100 in glass at a person?
Make it 5.
So we're gonna establish a distribution company that we can just send production to?
No, what I'm saying is I took trade from 3/4 of the people in this room for the booths. Yes, you did. So that's what you got. I'm throwing myself under the bus right now and saying that I'm more than willing to do it. This is a manifestation that I've had, and I mean, this is obviously a reality now because we're all in this room together. So what I'm saying is, if you had the opportunity to trade that, how much would you be willing to give if it was your love and not money? Because it seems like greenbacks is like kind of like the evil thing. You know, we don't do this all just for money. We do it because we do what we do for love. Right? Yeah. So I'm just saying, I know there is a lot of people who couldn't afford to do the booth at this show if I didn't take the trade. And that's all I'm throwing out there is if there was somebody willing to peddle that glass around and take the trade for that organization, how much easier would it be for everybody? I'm just throwing that out there.
A lot of this stuff we've actually started bringing out to you guys in our first edition. I hope y'all liked it. We have a lot coming for y'all in the future. And I wanted to touch on a lot of this because at dinner last night, I was the only one that had health insurance at a table of 12. That's not good odds. 12 people that most of them do a way more dangerous job than I do. All I do is shuffle papers and talk to people. They're slinging glass that can burn them at any minute in severe ways. I just think that these thoughts and these people coming together like this is really what we do need. And our magazine's definitely supporting this. The UCCTO's ad was definitely a donated ad. And we want to reach out to the people in these organizations and know that we are also there to support.
Association needs to stay within the industry specifically. And I think the flip side, if you're really looking for funding, as myself being on both sides as a manufacturer and a store owner, you need to have a retail designation, an opportunity for the stores to join and be part of the association as well. And you can absolutely get the funding from the stores, especially the stores that have been true to our industry and buy from American-produced, products and artisans. And I think that most stores, if they could get a designation that says we are approved, we support this, we go a long way. And as a store owner, $100 a year would be nothing to have that designation. I'd be happy to take that. I did a lot of research, and I went and I filed my suit in state court. And we were successful at doing that. I ended up selling the brand name because it had been diluted and stepped on by importers and things of that nature. And I think that the reality is that those are the people that are dangerous to this industry, right? The people that are taking risks, doing things, absolutely motivated by greed. And if we can get the association to almost root them out via the retail stores, by really designating, like somebody up here said, it's the convenience store owner that's doing the misdeeds, right? I think if we banded together and really said, hey, if you're going to conduct and promote and sponsor this type of behavior, you're not welcome here.
Hi, my name is Eric. My wife Ellen and I, we run a trade show called Age, and we're just doing this stuff after our own heart because it's a very big gamble, and this industry is such a small part of the pie, and it's really was almost destroyed years ago by trade shows such as Champs and other things that really helped keep us alive. But the fact is that they brought so many other imports and so much spice and stuff like that, it really helped devaluize the price of our product. And unfortunately, with the influx of all the stuff that was coming in from China, it almost killed us. And the fact that we band together 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, to start our show and unite and step aside from the staple show in the industry, it was huge. And the fact is, you know, because of things like that happen, that this movement is inevitable. It's never going to stop as long as the government gives us the ability. My wife and I, like we're talking about the stuff that's going on here, we were trying to come up with concepts and things to bring it out to the general public. And kind of like the things that were talked about here, we came along the suggestions of, you know, a documentary, because this is such a big business. It's much more than hundreds of millions of dollars. It's in the billion-dollar range. And we're not talking from the green part of the industry and things like that. We're talking from the artistic part of the industry. And such as this film and things like that are very important. But if we could get a film out there that showed these are American families, this is the next GM of America, this is just in the forefront of things that are just starting to be, if it's possible. You know, in each state, it only takes about 250,000 signatures for this law to be changed. This Paraphernalia Act is a joke. And the fact is, if we all band together and we're not afraid to let a documentary be made and people to come in and say, hey, this is not only for this use. There is now a huge artistic part of pipe making that it doesn't have to be functional art. It can be anything. And these guys have fucking ability to do whatever their mind sets. The new things that are coming out with the guys that are here blow me away every day. And I've been in awe since I was a little kid at just simple things of stuff like Jerome Baker was making 15, 20 years ago. But thank God, you know, that the industry didn't give up when all the pipe dreams and all this stuff was going on, and the head shops and everything still kept supporting us. If we can get out there and make a documentary to show how much money this is bringing into our country and not leaving America. It's not leaving. And
We already got it, though.
This is what's so important, is just the fact that people step up and say, you know what, I'm no longer going to be afraid. We're going to make this. We're going to get it out to as many film festivals as possible. We're going to get it out to people that make large-scale films. Michael Moore, whoever it could be, it doesn't matter, but it needs to be put out there in the light that it really is, you know. And unfortunately, it comes back to, oh, we're just pipe makers. It's bullshit. We're not just pipe makers. We're American families. And that's what needs to be stressed most, is that this law that was enacted a long time ago is bullshit. And when people realize that, hey, I can be put in jail, or this person, my next door neighbor, can be put in jail for being an artist, once again, is bullshit. And that's what really has to be put out there, is that this is feeding American families, just like we've talked about, and the nonsense that's going on, it's about time to just be over. And that's what has to be stressed, and that's what has to be pointed out in everything that's made, is that these are American families that's staying in this country, because we're losing so much money being shipped out everywhere else but here. And this industry is here to stay as long as we can band together.